Ah,
I didn't know I could do a steak dinner.
what do you even shaved your head for this?
Yeah,
Beautiful. We made it. How are you,
we
mate?
did. Good, buddy. Good.
Oh, you haven't
You?
got a notebook out. How was your?
No,
I just got.
actually, I haven't done anything. I haven't done
No,
anything.
no, no, it's okay. We're supposed to make this organic, mate.
Okay,
We don't
good.
want to make it too orchestrated. How's your morning? Good?
Good, good. All good.
Yeah.
Into the coffee, bro. You?
I'm on my second. I got my water. I've had my protein. I just got back from the gym.
Oh,
So
happy birthday.
work-life balance. Oh, yeah, yeah. Work 49.
Mm,
49 off to the hunter for the weekend.
mm,
Right. So we finally made it here
mm.
after months of procrastination from my side,
Good
abuse
start.
from you.
Yeah.
I
No,
did
it's hard
mention,
to lock diaries, mate.
yeah, absolutely. And we do have full-time jobs and families and
Mm,
everything else like that. So I think the intentions were always there, but getting things off the ground, I think that first part is always the hardest, isn't it?
mm.
And we got I'll just push that out so people can see steak dinner. No?
Logo.
Steak dinner, like that's courtesy of KM.
I love it.
Do you like
Steak
it?
dinner.
I
Yeah. Looking forward to
we
it.
should just tell people that um I did show this to you a couple of days ago. I don't think you were that impressed. I think because we actually hadn't done any of the work. So I think you felt like I was procrastinating again, and then I felt like I was under performance management by you. So I
Warning
thought
one.
I
Warning
better
one, mate.
get into it because this guy's gonna fucking, he's a nice guy, but I think I'm pushing boundaries here. So
Well, I think you've got an important message to get out to the world, buddy. So that's why.
I think we
That's why
both
we read.
do. So maybe we
Yep.
sort of just quickly go into why we're here, what it's all about. Credit where credit's due. You came up with the name Steak Dinner Podcast.
Oh,
So I'd be interested to hear from you your thoughts around the name because I love the name when I heard it. I think it's kind of resonated to sort of where we want to go with things, but be good to sort of let listeners know from your perspective what that name means to you.
well, number one, I knew it resonated with you when I saw the trademark come through. I thought, wow, you got to be quick on this bloke.
Yeah,
The um the steak dinner. One of the things about as you get older, you realise that there's not many people in your life as a bloke that you get to rely upon. As you're older, you have to
yeah.
become self-reliant, right? You
Mm,
got to be those sort of things.
mm,
But the good thing about going for a steak dinner for me was
mm.
you usually around people that you can learn off and bounce ideas off, and there's no judgment at a steak dinner. It's always, and I've done this a bit where when you do go out for the lunches, there's pots of gold that
Mm,
people will share things over that
yeah.
you, yeah, that resonate with you for a long time after. So that's
Mm,
what I sort of, that's where it came from for me.
mm.
Um, but obviously, I like the protein. I love the steak. Easy.
Absolutely. So I think for me, a lot of that, you're right. There's a lot of nuggets out there, especially probably in the drinking circles that, that really doesn't sort of get captured and sort of brought to people's attention. I think a lot of people suffer in silence. You know, some people are lucky enough to have a few good blokes around them that they can have those
Mm.
conversations, get those learnings over a steak dinner. I mean, for me, I thought protein straight away. Steak just felt manly. I know you're trying to detract vegan listeners from coming on. So I think there was a bit of intent there from you. Not that
Yeah.
he's going to talk about it.
No.
But obviously for me, it was kind of like, for me, like steak was, for me, steak is like real food.
Mm,
So, and I think that in this type of environment, there's a lot of sugary snacks out there in the way
mm,
of podcasts and a lot of bullshit processed talk going on. So I think for me, I like the fact that it's real, it's substantial, and hopefully people will get some good value out of it.
mm.
Um,
Well, and hopefully we do too.
yeah, oh,
Right?
absolutely,
So that's
absolutely,
partly why we're doing it. We're almost doing it for
100%.
ourselves just as much as
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I think for us, we've always had a good relationship, and I know people that don't know, but a lot of our relationship kind of we met through work type situation, but we've developed a good friendship along the way. And I know that even though we've really enjoyed working together, we really like those private conversations and those abilities to sort of sit down, not talk work and talk about life. We're around the same vintage. I know we went to school together unbeknownst to each other, but we did.
Mm.
And then sort of life takes you full circle. So it's interesting how sort of things come full circle that way. But yeah, I agree. It's going to be really good for me to sort of connect in with you on this type of stuff because I know that we like having these types of conversations. We like moving away from all the superficial bullshit that's out
Mm.
there and being able to do that with another bloke. Don't get me wrong, I do like those types of conversations as well. And I think that's important, right? It's like
Yeah.
guys need a bit of all that, right? Sometimes we do want to sit down and just talk football and talk shit. And have those surface conversations. They're important as well, but I think it's good to have those conversations where you get to connect in and talk about some real stuff as well. So yeah, looking forward to that.
The docket looking, mate.
The docket's all right. So just explaining to listeners, and this will sort of mature. This will probably be something that we'll look back on this episode and have a little giggle as things become a bit more polished. We'll keep it in the archives though for full transparency, no doubt. But for me, the docket was really about just introducing people to the ideas of sort of what we're about, what they should expect in the coming episodes. We don't want this whole podcast and every episode to be, we want it to be a bit of a mix of, a couple of really important topics that resonate with our audience, and sort of we'll go into that in a second in terms of who we see our audience as. But we want to look at what's trending, what's out there, what are people talking about. So whether it be politics, economics, health, fitness, just anything out there that's sort of contemporary, that's a bit of a buzz at the moment, just to
Yeah.
keep things a little bit lighthearted, a bit interesting, a bit topical as well. So looking forward to sort of integrating that. But we want to make sure we're keeping to the spirit of what we're about, which is really focus on those men's issues. And I think might be a good opportunity to sort of go through who our target audience are for the podcast. So did you want to sort of go through from your perspective on
Well, hopefully it becomes a larger audience than just
you and me?
males, just you and me. The way I see it
Mm,
is we're okay. Maybe both of us are very lucky
mm,
with our fathers. Mine's no longer with me, but we had good, strong influences, which helped. And as you're a father, you only know what you know, right? You
mm,
only you only get that. But young blokes, they do need good grounding, and
mm,
not everyone has that. No
mm,
one has that opportunity. So from a target market, hopefully it's not just blokes who are going through something,
mm,
which hopefully we touch on because as you get older, things happen to you.
mm.
Your groups of
100%.
friends, different blokes have different challenges in their life. So hopefully it goes beyond that, and also you may find it also gives an idea to women as well, what other blokes are thinking,
Mm,
normal blokes who and how they think and what they're trying to do with their lives. So that
mm,
from a target market, I hope everyone enjoys it, to be honest, and that it's pretty free flowing and hopefully everyone gets something out of it. But initially when we started was we were seeing a lot of issues for guys around our age and younger going through different matrimonial things or relationship things and
mm,
really realizing that there isn't many places that they can go in a safe environment, safe where that they can find respite, they can find that there are other blokes going through the same things, and a lot of times blokes just hold all that on. So hopefully
mm.
you realize how many of us are out there and how many people
Yeah.
are thinking good thoughts and positive thoughts for everyone. So
Yeah, yeah, no,
a lot of
that's
buzzwords I threw in there,
no,
but
that's
they
good.
are
That's all right. Well,
actually
you've got
I actually
you.
I really feel it. So yeah,
No, absolutely. But I mean, people that don't know you're a chartered accountant, so buzzwords are just part of the course for you, right?
I'll throw more acronyms in
Yeah,
next time.
yeah, yeah. Lots of three-letter acronyms everywhere. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
both sort of corporate backgrounds and a lot of different experiences. But yeah, so yeah, that's good, man. I
How do
think
you feel about it? Josh? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
look, I'm
thinking?
I'm I'm loving it. For me, it's I think it's there's a selfishness to this. It's a bit of therapy for me as well. It's an opportunity. I've probably seen in some other podcasts, and it's just it seems pretty, I'm going to use the term delicious. People that know me know I love that term delicious, and I use it inappropriately all the time. But so I think for me, it's just being able to engage in these topics, speak to other guys. Look, I'm coming up to 50, right? We're about the same vintage. And like you, um, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life and I've had a lot of challenges and I've worked through those challenges, but I've worked through those challenges through trial and error. I didn't
Mm,
really have mentorship. I fumbled my way through, tried to do the best that I could. It was really grit and resilience that got me through. But for me, it's like I felt like they were more personality traits. I was lucky that
mm,
that's kind of who I was as a person. Maybe there was a biological part of me that was a bit resilient. And I was able to kind of motor through and get to the other side of a lot of this stuff, right?
mm,
I went through a lot of this stuff earlier. I went through a lot of this stuff in my 30s, early 30s, but I see, and I was able to kind of get through that and reestablish myself, and I'm in a really good place. Got a beautiful wife, beautiful family, beautiful friends. My friends, I've gone through that whole cycle of fair weather friends, and you kind of,
mm,
when you go through life and life serves you up shit sandwiches all the way along, you see a lot of these. That's where all the fair weather friends start to drop off. So I think if you go, and that's the beauty of going through a lot of these challenges, is that if you go through enough, you start to really refine your friendships, and you
mm,
get to this beautiful place when you're on the other side of it, that you've got these tried and true and tested friends, and you realize it's not a numbers game. If I'm left with
mm.
one, two, three people, I'm loving it. I tell my
Yeah.
kids, if you have one good friend, a like proper friend that has been through the hardships
Mm,
of life with you, and you
mm.
you know you can rely on them, you're doing well. You don't
Hey,
need
this
more.
this is interesting. I was listening to
Yeah,
Zuckerberg last night,
yeah.
and
The
he
the human
he was
robot,
well, well,
was he
um he was saying the stats out of the US are most people, so not just men, have less than three friends.
yeah,
Friends, like
friend.
just
And what is the definition of that?
Zuckerberg does. But it
But
was
you know what I
to me,
mean?
but
It's
where he
like,
was coming from
yeah,
was
yeah.
the people are now
Mm,
going to their GPT therapist
yeah,
and or GPT friend or
yeah,
GPT girlfriend or
yeah.
boyfriend, and they're the ones they're sharing everything back to a AI
AI.
effectively. So you can see that that becomes the easy route for people, and people are
Yeah.
susceptible to always taking the easy route because an AI won't push back too hard on
Oh,
you,
yeah,
won't,
funny. Yeah,
and
I've got
these
a
sort of
comment
things.
here.
Oh, and probably maybe not even challenge you. So,
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that. I was having dinner with my brother-in-law a
mm,
couple of nights ago, and we were talking about ChatGPT, and we were like, because I told him I just signed up to the premium
oh,
subscription, which
hmm,
which I'm enjoying. Like it's got, because I
yeah.
use it every day, tax deduction, all that sort of
Whose
stuff. So
credit card did you use?
no, I use
Oh,
mine. Yeah, I use
okay.
mine for that one. Yeah, unfortunately. But so we were talking about ChatGPT and how it kind of kisses your ass a little bit. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned the word pushback, but it's like
Mm,
if I say to ChatGPT, I did this and I did that, it goes, well, that was a really thoughtful way to, like it doesn't matter
yeah.
what I say, it's got this glass is half full
Mm,
approach. And I sometimes wonder, is it are people relying too much on the advice of ChatGPT? And is it
mm,
leading people down this path? It's almost like, your
mm,
fair weather friend that tells you everything you want to hear. Real friends
yeah.
push back.
Yeah.
Real friends go, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And,
People who don't say anything to your face are probably not your friends. Yeah.
bingo. So I just think to myself, if people are relying on these sort of tools for
Mm,
friendship advice, it's a bit like social media.
mm.
People are people are connecting via chat. They're touching the surface. They're scratching that itch a little bit to get,
I'm
it's a,
surprised you paid for one because Grok would give you one that's less filtered.
Yeah, I think for
Elon's Grok. The
yeah,
other
see,
one, what is
mm,
Gemini now, is
yeah.
pumping out some good stuff.
Yeah. I think for me it was more around like I don't use it more for ass kissing. I use it more to do other parts of my life where I need analysis and stuff like that done. So
Mm.
I'm not using it as like a counseling tool.
Mm-hmm.
And for me it's just I just like it's more just I like the snappiness of the
Mm.
responses. You get the priority. The AI voice assistant is much quicker and better.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I like the file upload sizes as well. I'm not
yeah.
restricted in terms of like if I want to do a lot of image editing and stuff like that, it works out pretty good.
Like
So for me,
in the
for 30
car,
bucks,
in the
it just
car going back and forth.
delicious,
So good.
right?
Yeah,
Just
so good.
do you just tap on the button and like
Yeah.
just to get the
Start
chat
it
going
off.
and then yeah.
And then usually I find, so then
Mm,
because I've already gone through some things on X and or some other data source, and I start
yeah,
talking to GPT, for example, about
yeah,
thorium reactors or something like that,
yeah.
segue. But
Yeah,
and then
Kieran's a nerd, by the way. Just see, you probably
but it
got that
comes
little,
back
you did
and
got
then
that
gives
little
me a list of
indication
everything
of
about
who he
thorium.
really is.
And
Very
it gives me
smart.
all the numbers. Well, it's
Yeah,
more an investment. This is an
yeah.
investment thesis as well
He's the
as
brains
saving the
trust of
planet.
this duo. Yeah,
No,
absolutely. Yeah,
as
yeah.
long as saving the planet. But
Uh,
the and it comes back, gives you a list of everyone in the
mm,
world, every country that's got thorium. And I go, well, that's not right. There was a
mm,
million tons found in China and only just released by the CCP.
mm.
Bang, comes back and it goes, actually, yeah, you're right. I've gone off and
Yeah.
so most people wouldn't have known to ask that second question. So that's whereas if you do it with Grok, Grok knows. So
Ah, okay.
because Grok is more current around, it's got more data thrown
Mm.
through it. Now, if it's accurate or not, that's the issue, but it's definitely
Yeah,
got more.
it's
Yeah.
funny that I do say this about. I do tell people. Well, it's a bit more of a warning than anything else. Like we're talking about how useful is GPT and AI and all these tools. I think they're most useful for people. If I look at it from like an industry specific or role specific purpose.
Mm,
I think for people that are fairly seasoned that understand their roles and understand their jobs, it's of more value because you can actually you know enough so that when you see what's coming through you know if it's right or wrong because you know enough about your industry to go yeah correct and you
mm,
can like to your point where you see BS you can push back on it and go that doesn't that's not right and to your point you call it out and go oh, you are absolutely right on that
yeah.
one and
Redo it.
sorry about the three lies there
Mm.
here's the
Well, look,
actual
it's
but
not a lie. It's like asking
mm,
a year eight or year nine kid who's partially done some
mm,
research the night before
mm.
versus having up to date current information. And I think
Mm,
that'll make the difference, but we'll see. We'll see. The data sources is going to be
yeah,
the winner here.
yeah,
Yeah, you know,
absolutely. And we got DeepSeek in that. This is an interesting time because it's Friday the 2nd of May,
mm.
and we're coming into an election cycle, and we're going to be out at the booths. This is
Tomorrow,
tomorrow.
getting a
Two contenders.
democracy sausage.
Yeah, yeah, allegedly. We use that term democracy very loosely here in our nanny state.
Preferential.
Our nanny
Yeah.
state, Australia, everything locked down by 1 p.m. From your perspective, so we've got Anthony Albanese, he's our current prime minister, and he's looking for a second term. We don't have term restrictions like in the US here, so it's
Mm.
every 3 years is the election cycle instead of
Yeah.
four. And yeah,
For
you go
federal. Yep. Yep.
for federal, and you get to stay as long as you possibly can. So we've had some prime ministers that have gone 10 plus years. John Howard, who
Yeah.
else? A couple of
You
others.
and I were lucky enough to have come out of school at about the time he was putting it all back together.
He was putting,
Surpluses,
yeah,
encouraging people to have babies, giving the
yeah,
baby bonuses,
absolutely.
all of those things.
Yeah, yep, yep. That was
Um,
a bit of a dream decade, wasn't it?
wasn't
In
it?
the
Yeah.
90s and that.
Mm.
So I guess going into the polls, it's interesting. There's a few issues, I guess, that are polarizing
Mm.
people at the moment. Obviously, energy policies, immigration policies, not too distinct from some of the issues that are going on in the US. Uh,
Around the world. Around the
yeah,
world.
yeah,
That's
around the
sparked
Yeah,
Grandparents, that's it.
absolutely. And I guess for me the top five I've got here: cost of living, affordability, particularly for the young men,
Yeah.
healthcare and mental health, big issues, energy and climate policies, and immigration.
What
What's
everyone knows.
yeah,
So,
it's funny. I had this conversation with my daughter just the other day because we talked about politics, and
mm,
she's a bit of an environmentalist, but I don't know many young people that aren't environmentalists,
no.
to be honest with you. I actually think that you go through a cycle in your politics where you start off very left, and as you advance in age, you move across the political spectrum to some degree, and then get more of a sort of centrist view, whether that's center left or center
Mm,
right. I think most people kind of sit around there, and based on their
mhm,
experiences and their circumstances, they'll kind of flick between the two. And then you get people that had probably some very extraordinary life experiences that feel very polarized on both ends of the political spectrum, whether that be through,
mm,
what they've been. I don't want to use the term indoctrinated, but, it's a bit, politics is like religion. If you're born Catholic and your parents are born Catholic and they vote liberal,
mm.
then you're probably going to start off that way, and unless you want to go through that whole discovery process
Or your
yourself.
parents were born Catholic, they're born Catholic and they were all voting Labor. It
Yeah,
really
yeah,
depends. It's
100%.
just,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And again, depends on, what industries do they work in and things like that.
Mm,
I mean, if they
yeah.
were government workers, maybe they were, more around the labor side of
Mm,
the fence. But what do you see as, I think of, just for transparency, I'm probably more of a center right kind of guy. But I'm very much around personal freedom, personal values. So I see a lot of libertarian values that
yeah.
resonate with me. I see the value in markets, but I also see the value in people just staying out of my life and
Mhm.
giving, government for me should be least amount of interference in people's lives and good economic management. But yeah,
Well, I'd say most people, if you just removed the um, the term libertarian and just
mm,
said those things,
yeah,
like, and just say who you are, like
yeah,
this is the problem I think of saying, "Oh, I'm center right,
yeah,
left or right," or like, and I think you may have even said it to me once. Let's just do it based on policy. What are the
yeah.
policies?
What are the
Uh,
policies?
what do you
Yeah,
believe that someone
yeah,
who has a funny hat should be able to tell you what to do every
yeah.
time?
Do you,
To
yeah.
me,
Mm,
the things that are coming out, all those major topics you said there, for me was that cost of living thing. Education makes a difference here. That and that's what I really hope that a lot of people spend the time and have a look at maybe someone like Ron Paul or Austrian economics. Austrian economics is basically might be one subject out of a whole HSC
mm,
economics thing. You are
mm,
taught Keynesian,
mm,
you are
mm,
taught monetary policy, and
mm,
that's it. But realistically, there are other
mm,
economic theories and cost of living in Australia and around the world. Everybody has to understand that the reason why costs are so high is because the world got locked down during
mm,
COVID. And then when they got locked down, as a politician, you must make sure that everyone's got money. So they started printing money. And a
mm,
simple example is if if there is only a certain amount of goods in the world right now, we call it the GDP of the world, and there is only $10 to buy that GDP. If everyone around the world prints money and makes it $200.
mm,
Now, the GDP didn't increase. There's just
mm.
everything is now worth whatever the $200 can buy. So
Yeah.
it's all inflated in double. This money printing process ends up affecting real people and especially people who live paycheck to paycheck because
Mm,
their wages don't go up quick enough. And if you are an asset owner, everyone would have seen this during COVID, that if you owned assets like property, your property price went sky
mm,
high.
mm.
Why? It wasn't because there was this extra demand of a couple of million people coming to your country. It went up. No one came during COVID. There was no one new.
Mm.
Your property price went up because the printing presses worked.
Yeah.
So that is the reason. And despite everyone saying, "Oh, we're going to make cost of living affordable," how are they going to do that? They're going to print more money. So it's not going to help you.
So you're
And the
saying
more
it's smoke and mirror policies essentially.
it's tagline,
Mm.
it's tagline. And there are real fundamental things that can be done,
But can
but
I just say the real
you probably
fundamental
can't get
things
it
that
over in a soundbite. Yeah.
correct. And I think sometimes it's like anything in life, you know, good things,
Yeah.
right? Which means for this economy to get to the other side and get to a good place, you need to do hard things to get there. But
Mm,
the way politics, just the structure of politics every 3 years, and then they spent the last 12 months of that year campaigning.
mm,
It's all just smoke and mirror policies. It's about getting re-elected
mm,
because if people went through with policies or advocated for policies that actually made real changes, they
mm,
would be very difficult for the public to swallow because the public aren't looking long term. Most people are
mm,
looking for a short term fix. They're looking for a tax break. They're looking for a relief in fuel price. And don't get me wrong, I get that. I'd be looking for relief too. But sometimes things need to get worse before they get better. And I mean, I don't know what the fix is. I'm not an economist. I'm certainly got
mm,
no desire for politics, right? It's a very dirty game. But
mm,
yeah, it's very interesting. I think a lot of people, they just, yeah, it's difficult because people don't have the time.
mm.
They're running families. They're trying to run their life. They don't have time to invest.
Right.
Yeah,
That's like it.
exactly.
Oh, the one you said before about freedom, you believe in your freedoms. I was dropping off my daughter at
Mm.
school, and it was my wife's car, and it had the radio on, and it was Kyle and Jackie O, and they were interviewing Peter Dutton, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll hear what he has to say. He sounds a
Mm.
bit different to what you imagine when you just see a photo of him dressed
Because
up as
he looks like an alien, and that's
like
the thing.
Voldemort. Yeah,
Yeah, he looks, he
that's
looks
the
like
way you
Voldemort.
usually see him. But
Yeah.
here's this, right? Kyle and Jackie O are on there, and Kyle's there saying, "Look, we should just get rid of social media because people like Facebook or X, if they don't do what you say, what the country's laws are. This is about the kids having access to social media. This is
Mm.
the point." And they go, so they should be banned, and we just won't have social media at all. Just remove them from the whole system. It'd be great. Everyone will get their lives back. Da, 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 da. And Dutton said, no, no, there's that's you can't do that because there's a lot of Australian businesses that use Facebook for advertising their businesses. So then if we just ban them, then that
Mm.
wouldn't work either. So they know that about us, and they have to stand up against us because otherwise they'll get taken advantage of around the world as well from a Facebook perspective. Anyway, Kyle just says, no, 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 it should be banned. And then Duncan goes, oh, yeah, you can even say it about that evil genius, Elon Musk. And I'm thinking, here we go.
Yeah,
Here's a pillaring. Anyway, so it
yeah,
goes on like that, right?
yeah.
So, and then the next one is they towards the end, Kyle goes, well, look, I said I would have everybody on the show, but I'm not going to say who I'm going to vote for. There's different rules and things. So I'm going to not do that. I'm not going to say about Albanese, I've had Albanese and about Dutton. And he goes, but I would definitely not vote for the Greens because Greens want us banned from the radio. Like, that's terrible. So they can go off, no way that they can ban us. And Dutton chimes in, oh, that's no good because, that's a freedom of speech. Like, you should be able to have your freedom of speech. And, I should be able to come on your show and have freedom of speech and da 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 da. And neither of them got the cognitive dissonance to say Stalin had freedom of speech as well. He was allowed on the radio every day, right?
Yeah.
But they're quite happy for every individual Australian not to have freedom of speech by just banning social media and banning.
Oh,
So
100%.
realistically, Kyle should have freedom of speech as a big radio star.
Yeah,
These guys,
100%. Yeah.
but not individuals.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
to me, the fact that you can have a cognitive dissonance to not understand the two things you are saying within 8 minutes is crazy.
Kieran, parliamentary privilege. Tell
Right.
me
Tell me
another
about it.
environment that has that.
Well, tell me more about. I don't really know that much about it.
Well, parliamentary privilege, you say whatever you want,
Mhm.
politicians, right?
Yeah.
Under parliamentary privilege, they can't be sued, they can't be litigated. It's basically carte blanche to say whatever they please within the context of that environment.
Yeah.
No?
But we
So
don't
what?
have that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Not just them. What other industry have they
None.
extended that to?
None.
So it's these special rights that, it's what was going on the other month? I saw it on X around the media laws around controlling hate speech and things like that, and
Mhm.
what's constituted, and they're trying to get exemptions for media outlets and things like that. So it's like one rule for thee and one rule for me, and it's like, well, you're corporate.
Mm.
You're providing funding to our political campaigns, so we'll make sure that you're looked after and you can't be litigated and you're clean skin and you do whatever you want. And then for the masses,
You could be litigated.
you could be litigated.
Well, I think everybody from Australians' perspective, you should be worried because during lockdowns of COVID, if you
Mm.
said something about that, you were struck off.
Yeah,
Dutton and the rest of, oh, okay, Dutton wasn't it was ScoMo at the time, but
yeah.
they were all agreed that they have to be cancelled. And this is the problem, that if you don't have values like that, that you think you can step over your values for anything, you will continually step over them. And
Oh,
that's why. So I think I'm closer to you, aware of I don't know much about Trumpet of Patriots or those
no,
guys. I
I know
hate
I've
the
been getting
name.
a,
I hate the name.
I know, I know. I think the trumpet of patriots is to get the Trump name in there to show
Yeah.
some sort of allegiance to that Trump. That was
Mm.
it's a play on
Yeah.
words. I've been getting their text messages. I don't know if you've been getting their text messages.
Not
Oh my
rules
God,
as well.
3% loans. Anyone should take out their super. It's like, oh, okay, interesting.
Oh,
All
but
right.
isn't that 30% for your deposit on your house or something?
I don't
So
know. So
if you got 200,000 in super, you can pull out $60,000
I don't
for
know,
your
mate.
house. I think that's
I've,
okay.
yeah, I've got, yeah, I agree with it. And I guess the house prices goes up. So you make it back in the equity, hopefully maybe more than invested in there. But yeah, I don't know.
It's just another asset class.
It's just another asset class too. And I guess it just takes it out of the government coffers, right? So they haven't got legislative control over that money anymore once it
Yeah,
goes out
that's
into the
it.
market, right?
Well,
Uh,
it's harder to tax
yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
harder, right? Especially across housing because everyone's got a house, right? So you got to be
And
careful how
everyone's
you
got to vote.
tread. Everyone's got to vote, right?
Yeah.
That's a political hot potato.
Yeah, the one I've had a look at was the Libertarian Party. That was
Yeah, yeah,
interesting. So
yeah.
but they sort of have values and not many policies.
Mm,
Whereas I think the Trumpet for Patriots have like genuine policies of things
mm.
they want to do, like fast rail, 120 kilometers from
Yeah,
a major CBD.
that I'm a big fan of.
So
I
am I.
think that I just think
That solves you.
we've just I just think we don't tap into like the our infrastructure that we've got.
Mm,
Like this, we're so big,
mm,
geographically as big as the United States. We're only
mm.
26, 27, and I know a lot of it's uninhabitable, but we've
Yeah.
got so much land opportunity there that if they
Mm,
developed the right infrastructure and opened up these regional areas to make
mm.
a commute in from somewhere that would be traditionally 2.5, 3 hours away to a 45-minute trip to the CBD,
Yeah.
I mean, it just
Yeah.
opens up a
Well,
whole spectrum of
have a look at
opportunity.
their policy. Have a look at their policies.
Mm,
The only policies that they really haven't explained are the two that, well, really the one that you mentioned, which is that 3% home loan for first homeowners or something.
mm,
And I actually worry because that will mean a lot of banks won't even lend. Like, why would you lend money if you're going to lose money?
yeah,
That's so I don't.
100%.
Or maybe it's you don't get to do it for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah,
You're locked on 3% for 5 years. Well,
yeah,
there are other ways to do that mechanism,
yeah.
but the other policies, they're pretty good.
Mm,
They look okay.
mm,
To be honest, your thing about immigration. I live on the northern beaches of Sydney. It's not really an issue. I don't think, but
mm.
I've never been against immigration. It just needs to be done
Legally.
legally, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah.
legally. Yeah, which is different in other countries. They have that
Here
to
we've got
this
a big
degree.
body of water that creates him a pretty
Yeah.
strong immigration policy for us.
I think I think we've got a lot, but so I'm not really
Mm,
across that immigration. Maybe that's just blame the other guy type politics.
yeah.
I'm not too sure, but maybe there's something genuine there as well. So
Yeah, no,
I think
I'm
that
the same
was
as
that your
you.
three. What was your last one? Yeah, no one's really
Uh,
talked about infrastructure on this one
well, I
in
think
this election.
I think infrastructure is huge, but it's again, it's a long-term play. You don't just build. Like that takes years, right?
Yeah.
So
But what
you
were your five things that you said just a moment ago?
Oh, it's
Like that you
cost of
said,
living,
yeah.
housing, immigration, healthcare,
Mm,
mental health. And I think that healthcare,
mm,
mental health, particularly around, and obviously energy policies as well. That's a real hot
yeah.
potato, I think, for us because, it's like
Yeah.
going back to the conversation I was having with my daughter, and she's, very much with the new environmental policies and things like that. And
Oh,
I was trying to Russia, India are
mm,
serial polluters, right?
mm,
And you've got billions of people polluting the earth. And I'm not saying two wrongs make a right, not at all. But you also need to be cognizant about, and this goes back to immigration as well. But what was this country built on?
mm,
Our natural resources. We are not a manufacturing country. We are very rich in resources and gas and coal. And
mm.
I think a lot of our,
Well, go back further. Go back further. What was
yeah,
it built on? It was built on agriculture and grit. Like
yeah,
honestly, it was built on grit. So,
yeah. But
and
when
there
you
was
talk about,
no
but now,
Medicare. There was no all these things that
correct,
people would
correct.
come around the world to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People came here to do because they knew
A-
that there was something
And
here, or
that
the.
and that ties back into our historical immigration policies, which have been
Mm,
fantastic because I
mm,
mean we had that big influx of Europeans, back
mm,
in the probably what 40s, 50s, and they really helped to build this
mm.
country, right?
Even during the 70s or
Yeah,
later, like the Vietnamese guys that
yeah,
came, they were brilliant,
yeah, yeah,
hardworking people. Yeah, so that's not
yeah.
realistically
Oh,
the issue.
100%.
I
And
think.
and beautiful thing is too, like even down to just, I think some of the things we take for granted. I go to, visit my not in-laws, or yeah, in-laws, and go out to Bathurst, for example. I can
Mm,
get any type of cuisine out there. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I think
yeah.
we're so culturally diverse, and how that
Mm,
kind of simulates into our culture, and just because I love food. So
mm,
just to be able to get any sort of cuisine that you
mm,
want, and it's the people from that culture cooking the food.
mm.
You know what I mean? It's just, I like that cultural melting pot. It's not as prevalent out in the regional areas as kind of inner Sydney, where it's a lot more culturally diverse. But yeah, so I think there's a lot to be said. Again, I always go back to, I'm okay. I support immigration as long as it's legal, as long as it's controlled, and as
Mm.
long as you're not materially disadvantaging your own
Yeah,
local citizens. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It can't be at the expense of.
No,
It would
agreed.
be would be my view. So
Yeah, it's the same way you wouldn't let everyone come into your house, leave
yeah,
your front door open.
100%. And I
Yeah.
think that's why for some people, I think, if you look at immigration, some people might say, well, these immigration policies are driving up housing prices, for example. And
Mm, mm,
I've got young kids, they can't get into the market.
mm.
They can't even save for a deposit because the prices are increasing beyond their
Yeah.
ability to put 20% down, for example.
Well, could I throw one else in
Yeah,
here? That
yeah.
back to that first point about inflation
Mm,
and that the property prices have gone up so much, so which is what you're talking about. But
mm,
when you put the printing presses together, you devalue your Australian dollar because now there was one Australian dollar, now there's two Australian dollars
mm.
equal to that, right?
Yeah.
And you have seen that from the US dollar has dropped, was underneath 60 cents the other day,
Mm,
right? So now not only is it higher in Australian dollars, so for our kids to buy something, but foreigners, we look cheap.
mm. Oh, 100%.
So so
Yeah.
it's a two-prong effect here
Yeah.
of governments and the Reserve Bank, or
Mm,
governments really, because they spend a lot. They're the ones who come up with these grand ideas of
mm,
where they want to spend their money, but or welfare or whatever with
mm,
big deficits. So
mm.
that really needs to be sorted out,
Yeah.
or else the impact you're talking about will continue to happen.
Mm,
It'll
mm.
get worse. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what is what people are what's going to drive people's voting decisions this year. And
Hmm.
and is it going to be on like I'll put it to you this way.
Mm,
Peter Dutton comes across very unappealing. Like
mm,
if you don't know him, if you don't know
mm,
him or his policies, and for example, I was watching listening to another podcast. They were saying, Peter Dutton, if you sit down with a bloke and get to know him, he's a pretty
mm.
decent guy, but
Yeah.
it doesn't translate through when he's on the podium.
He's an ex-copper, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an ex-copper.
Yeah.
I think he was ex, and was he minister
Defense,
for
maybe?
defense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So he seems okay.
yeah, so
But
it
look,
probably
but back to that
conservative.
policy thing. From a policy perspective,
Mm,
if you go through, I'd be interested if we can pull it up or see what they are.
mm.
Maybe everyone's policies might be hyperlinked below. But
Yeah.
I'd like to know
Well, I could tell you,
liberal policy versus Labor policy.
yeah, I
To
can,
me, they sounded like buzzwords. They weren't
yeah.
policy things they're going to do. It's like, we will make things more affordable. Okay.
I'll
What's the
go I'll
policy?
go through very quickly. So
Yeah.
cost of living, Labor wants to lower the tax rates and give Medicare an $8.5 billion boost.
Yep.
That's their cost of living position. The
What's
coalition
the tax cut?
14
Yeah.
16 to 14%. I think materially it's going to represent like 600 a
Mm.
year for
Okay.
most of
So
the
nothing.
punters out there. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
you've got Dutton 25% fuel cut.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and then he wants to invest 331 in nuclear. That's another hot button topic.
331 million. Yep.
Yeah, billion.
331 billion?
331 billion. Well, that's the numbers I've got, unless that's wrong. I'll go back into
Mm.
that.
Yeah,
Um,
331 billion. Bloody
yeah.
hell. There's the point. There's a classic point that from a policy perspective,
Yeah.
if you look at what the thorium reactors that the Chinese have had undercover for the last 2 years, they've only just come out and said, we've done it and we've replaced the thorium and kept it going and it's working perfectly. They're as big, you can make them as big as a shipping container,
Wow.
right?
Mm.
So now, I remember you and I speaking about the NBN a long time ago,
Yeah.
where we said
Yeah.
the technology already changed. You can
Yeah.
already get 5Gs
100%.
everywhere, or you can do the satellites like Elon
Yeah.
Musk.
Yeah.
And we were saying, why the hell would they spend that sort of money? But it's
They
the
got these
interests of
long-term
Telstra
correct.
shareholders,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Cutting off their nose to spite their face.
Well, it's other people's money,
Yeah.
and you need to be. So maybe with Dutton's thing there, that seems like investing in the NBN
Mm.
when there is a better technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than spending our money on doing that, what we should do is say we come up with legislation of why things should be done, and if it is cheaper to do so, then what are the regulatory barriers that we can remove by stroke of the pen? Doesn't cost the Australian person anything to say, look, if you put up these reactors somewhere in far west,
Mm,
middle of
mm, mm.
Australia, whatever it
Yeah.
happens to be, then do that. I'd rather that than drive down to Canberra and see these bloody windmills going every day. Like, just
Yeah.
ruins the landscape.
Yeah,
Terrible.
absolutely. So, and on housing, Labor's position is 10 bill for 100,000 homes, and they have got that shared equity position. Have you know that one, the shared equity position, where
Yeah,
they
but
basically
10 bill.
co-invest with
Mm,
they become equity holders of your property
don't like
with a
that.
co. Yeah, I don't like that either.
Go to the Soviets if you want that.
Yeah, 100%. And
Although, how does it work in Singapore? It works something similar.
they've got like a shared equity
Yeah, there is
arrangement.
something like that,
I get it
which
if it's the only entry position,
Mm.
better to have a shared equity in something than nothing.
How about instead we have,
Hmm.
before you put forward a policy, you've got to have evidence of where it's already been implemented somewhere around the world and the impact.
They won't. That's common sense. They're not going to roll with that shit.
Nah.
No. Evidence-based policies? What is this?
The
You're in.
marketplace, countries are all
Oh,
competitive.
no.
So
You're
we should be able to
outrageous.
see it.
Outrageous. No,
We
they
should be
just
able to
want
see
to.
freedom of speech where it
No.
works and where it doesn't.
So
Oh,
going
did you
back,
see that one? Sorry.
No, I was
Did
going to
you see that
say
one go?
no. I was
No,
it
okay,
just
stay on
I
topic.
was going back to Voldemort. My question was, yeah, we're talking about all these policies, but
Mm,
how much, if you look at the average voter,
mm,
how much of their voting decision, and we said it's not through lack of intelligence or ability, it's just people don't have the time to invest
mm,
into the issues, right? So
mm,
based on that, so they're relying on sound bites and things like that, probably
mm.
a bit of mainstream media to sort of fish them out, little bits and pieces here and there. How much does charisma play in a candidate?
Must be. Ask Hitler, ask Trump, ask Stalin, ask Mao. If you've got it,
It's big,
you got
right?
it.
So
It's big.
I said to my wife, I said, she said that he looks creepy, that guy. I said, yeah, he looks. Oh no, I was saying my parents, and
Mm.
they're
Ask Kate.
yeah, they're sent, yeah, 100%.
Mm,
So yeah, what they were talking about, she goes, oh that Dutton, he looks very strange. I said, like an alien. She said, yes, like an alien. So it's or gets the Voldemort tag, whatever,
mm,
right? And
mm.
that becomes the headline,
But
right?
not all of us be. Well, Johnny Howard didn't look. He wasn't the everyman's everyman.
But
Oh,
I think he had a charisma to him, though.
yeah,
No, or maybe
we're
not.
looking
Maybe I've got
historically.
rose-colored glasses.
When you're looking at him versus Keating, there would
Oh
be
yeah,
arguable that they would say Keating had the charisma
yeah.
there. John Howard yeah,
Do
got
you
pushed around
think?
there.
Do you think that if the Liberal Party put through a candidate that had a full set of hair, that
Mm,
was handsome and a
mm,
bit charismatic,
yeah,
do you think they'd be leading in the polls right now, coming into this election?
I think so because Labor's really got not much to stand on.
Correct.
So
And
you just got to be the agent for change. You probably win.
yeah, yeah.
So you nominating yourself now? It's a bit late,
No,
mate.
no,
Tomorrow,
no.
son.
You're a funny guy.
But
No, I was
but
just
I agree with you. Charisma, or
Chris.
pride should be. Hey, the last one of them,
Mental
and then
health, because I want to go back to, I think we need to go back and spend, if you've got 10, 15 minutes or whatever. Have you got any meetings in
yeah,
the
I'll
next
have to go shortly.
yeah, but I guess health, so for health, Labor wants to invest more into mental health,
Hmm.
whatever that means. That's broad. Is that are
Yeah,
they investing into things like the NDIS, which is a car crash? That's not a
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
The PBS cap, they want to cap that at $25. And then healthcare
yeah.
coalition want to match Medicare PBS and double sessions for the PBS. Because I think those sessions, I don't know, I think it's about 10 sessions you can get for free. So maybe, double that to, if you can get Medicare sponsored sessions. Did you know that?
For
For mental,
sessions for mental health? No, I
for
didn't. I
mental
wasn't
health,
aware of that.
mental health. But then you
Okay,
have
so
to
that's
find
recommended
someone that
by your GP then.
and I
So
think
yeah,
that they
okay,
have to, well, they have to assess you, do a mental health plan, all that kind of stuff. So there's a
okay.
point of entry, and then if you want to
Mm,
get NDIS funded, which is that's a
mm,
rock show, that whole place.
mm,
But I think it's a good segue into, like, I'm all about mental health, but again,
mm,
it's about, there's a tagline mental health, and there's genuine mental health policy
mm,
that's going to affect real change. So I'd
mm.
be interested to see what that spend looks like, because but yeah, but obviously that's
Well, I've had in the last couple of years a couple of friends who have taken their own life,
yeah,
and so I totally get it. But they were all seeing therapists, and
yeah,
so it becomes difficult. I don't know the answer,
yeah,
but I just hope everyone out there is looking after themselves, changing their diets, lifting weights,
yeah,
doing things that maybe
100%,
hopefully changes
yeah,
their things, but circumstances for different people are difficult.
yeah. I
So,
agree.
yeah, so but I was just asked, I got text yesterday to be part of a study for a new launch of something for depression or
Mm.
whatever, as an outsider seeing impacted on other people. So I don't know, people are trying to solve this problem.
Mm.
but they're trying to solve it at the individual level. I doubt this is government funded or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you up to date on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've asked me. This is through a contact.
Yeah, I just find that everything is like everything that the government does in terms of their investment feels like they're
Mm,
only investing into people post haste. It's
mm,
like I'd like to see more of an investment into people in terms of preventative measures. Not
mm,
it's like they'll double down in terms of, funding medications to
mm,
control
mm,
ADHD, but won't invest into programs to make sure people are eating good
mm,
nutrition, to sort of tackle a lot of those. Same with mental health, diet, exercise, hydration, sleep, relationships. This is the backbone of good health.
mm,
Yet,
mm,
how much does the government invest into supporting people with good nutrition? How much do they invest into supporting more facilities where people can get, good quality, varied exercise and promoting that type of thing? They got to cut down. I like what RFK is doing, really
mm.
taking the big food to task.
What about this? What about
Mm.
you've every council has a library, right?
Yeah,
And somewhere where you can be educated. I know this is well before the internet
yeah,
was
yeah,
around, right? But the
yeah.
library's still there. And that's because the local councils saw that as something that was important for
Mm.
that community. Golf courses were around and think whatever the case may be. But maybe you've hit on something there. I don't know if all
What
fitness
about
first and the
what
rest would
about
like it. Mm, yeah.
where you can go to a gym for 40, $50 a month,
Mm,
subsidized.
mm.
Like it gives people access to, like, let's get people into these health facilities. Let's make
Well, let's
those.
see where it's actually. Let's flip that. Why don't we
Yeah.
go? What's the best around the world? That's the cheapest to deliver and gives the most health benefits.
Oh,
I'm pretty
Sean,
sure
you're
that I
going to do
saw
common
something on.
sense again.
I saw something of
Mm.
the Blue Zone. I think it was on
Oh yeah,
Netflix.
Blue Zones. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and there was one where the all of instead of having this really complicated, I think it might have been in. It's not Ecuador, but
Mm.
Costa Rica or somewhere down there,
Yeah.
where they obviously don't have a lot as much money as the US, etc. But they turned it around so that there was a guy on a motorbike who's an ER sort of a doctor, and he
Mm.
would go round and see everyone in his community and make sure that they were okay and they had their
Check in.
medications or whatever. So it's
Yeah,
cost them bugger all, right? One
yeah,
one bloke, two
yeah,
blokes.
yeah,
Preventatively, no
yeah,
one's going to the doctor, getting a GP, trying to
yeah,
find their thing because these guys all know each other. They've all got
yeah.
a community,
And it's
and these
connections,
are the connections.
connections.
And the data points show that
Yeah,
it worked
yeah, yeah,
per
100%.
dollar spent. So
Yeah.
why don't we throw it all that? Because our doctors drive Porsches, not.
I know, but it's just such a redirection of the funding back to preventative. That's what I'd like to
That's
see,
it.
or at least a portion
Mm,
of that funding back
mm,
to preventative. I mean, the idea is to give people like Peter Attia would say, it's about health span. It's
mhm.
about being 70, 80, and not feeling like a complete garbage for the last 3 decades of your life,
Yeah, that's it.
being able to lift your grandkids up and all that kind of stuff. I know you've got to jump off because you're a busy guy, a little bit busier than me today. I'm going away for my weekend of shenanigans, so I'm
Well,
looking
have a
forward
great
to Hunter
birthday
Valley, New
weekend, mate.
South Wales. Beautiful vineyards up there. A little bit
Yeah.
commercialized these days, but it's still good to get on it.
Hey, JP, just sorry,
Yeah.
and I
Mm.
will run, but the
Yeah.
point around your mental health was also one thing you didn't
Yeah.
say was the circumstances that that person is in at that particular point in their life.
Yeah.
And we've all gone through mates that have gone through
Hun-
matrimonial
Yeah.
problems and relationship problems
Yeah.
that doesn't matter how much weights you lift or
Yeah.
good food you eat, you're encountering a situation that you've never been in before and don't know how to solve. And that's
100%.
usually that puts a lot of stress
Yeah.
on.
And I
So
and I
so and
agree.
and obviously there's a myriad of things that can give you
You agree. There's
stress
a
or
point that I
problems.
wanted to just quickly mention if you got one more minute. One thing that really shocked me the most is
Mm,
particularly like yourself, seeing a lot of your mates and things and friends and friends of friends going through a lot of the similar
mm,
type stuff. These are not stupid people. These
mm,
people are educated. very intelligent, successful people.
ATAR 90s.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah, and you realize that this is not an intelligence fix. Like it is,
No.
but it's an emotional intelligence fix. It's a, it's where IQ needs to meet EQ, and it's
Mm,
really getting through these types of things requires really people to develop their strong EQ to get through
mm.
that in terms of what that means in terms of support and stuff like that. Yeah. So look, I'm gonna let you go. This is number 1. I'm looking forward
Episode 1.
to getting
Yeah,
into it. I think for the next
yeah.
one, we're going to start mapping out some sort of structure because again, there's
Mm,
going to be some shit topical talk, but we really want to keep this focused around, those one or two men's issues. It's not just guys our age, obviously. That is
mm,
a bit of a focus for us at the start because I think there's some urgent care that needs to happen around some of those middle-aged guys over 45, divorced guys. Suicide rates are extremely high, so we want to kind of
mm,
get into tackling that and provide some respite for that part of our community. And then we want to also look at we making sure that younger guys out there in their
mm,
20s and stuff that we can give them some good positive steps to take, put them in the right direction, because that's the preventative care that we were just talking about before, about the
yeah.
investment into, let's not, if we're trying to give medication to our audience for the middle-aged guys that are going through
Mm,
shit, but we're trying to give the young blokes the tools to not get into that, and then
mm.
provide our older blokes with some immediate care, but also give them some good tools to sort of get back into stuff. So
Well, you could say we've been on this chessboard for a long time,
yeah,
and you've got to make your decisions in life around the way the rules of chess are. You'd love the rules to be different,
yeah,
but you've got to make your decisions based on how they are.
yeah.
And when you're a young bloke, you don't even know what the rules are.
Oh,
And I
100%.
would say when it comes to divorce, etc., no one looks at the rules until it's happening to you. So
Yeah. All right. No,
interesting.
this has been good. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully, your harassment towards me will somewhat reduce now that we've kicked this off. We're going to meet up every week for an hour.
Yep.
I've been tasked with organizing the meal docket. Hopefully, as the episodes progress, it will look more and more like we know what we're doing, but I
Mm,
can't make those guarantees because
no.
we are who we are, right? So we're going to do our best. We're going to
As
post
long as
this.
we educate each other, that's probably a good
Yeah,
one.
hundred
Like
percent.
that's what we're
Well,
trying to
for
do.
me, it's one of those PBS funded counseling sessions, right? That's how I'm looking at it. Yeah, so
Craving.
we're gonna have our docket. I'm gonna
Mm,
look at how to get this online so that we can, stream it through, all your Apple, Spotify. We want to
mhm,
bring this to YouTube as well, and hopefully, with all the technology out there, we can get some shorts and some clips just to give you guys some snacks along the
mm.
way. You can get a few of our shit jokes and all that kind of stuff. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
next time we would do it properly, so that we would say, what are Labor's policies? What are we don't got? I didn't run out of time on all of that.
Yeah, no, 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 that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay.
Give everything a go.
We don't want people to fall asleep either.
No, that's true.
But that's
All
good.
right, you have a great time away,
Yeah, I will,
and
mate. Like I said, I think I'll need a toxicology report done when I get back.
do I get one of those cool backgrounds or like you're
Oh no,
hiding
I will
them?
send
You're
you.
hiding the
I'll
steak
send you
dinner?
the logo. Look, I really screwed this up because I did it like 5 minutes before we come on, but ultimately I want it sitting in the corner so you can actually see what's going on
Up
here.
the top.
Up the top, or what I might do is I think you can do it in like post-production or something like that, where you can put
Yeah.
screens of images.
Oh,
So I don't know.
cool.
What have you got behind you? What's your skyline? Is
That's
that
New
Oh, that's
York,
New
baby.
York. Okay.
Yeah, that's a picture I've got in the house.
Oh,
So
oh,
yeah,
is it?
that I saved onto the that I took
Oh,
on.
excellent.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
So I'll have to get rid of this one because it'll be royalties. So off
Oh,
we go.
all right, mate. Have a great
See you,
weekend.
mate.
Have a great
Okay,
weekend,
you too,
everyone.
buddy. Speak
Okay,
next
take
week.
care.
Bye.
Bye bye bye.